Hello, everyone. A year ago, I was standing here telling you about all the amazing things MIT and our teams are doing about Kumbh Mela that was just about 4 months away in August of 2015. Well, I'm here to tell you about what we were able to achieve through support of many of you and how that model can be applied back here in the US and many other parts of the world. Now, Kumbh Mela, 30 million people for 30 days. It's a beautiful festival. And as beautiful as Kumbh Mela is, it creates huge challenges when it comes to health or housing or transactions, all kinds of logistics issues, civic engagement, and so on. And for the last 2 years or so, with many corporate partners and academics, and especially with the local government in the city of Nasik, we have been tackling this thing. We have been preparing for this. And it has been fantastic. It has been a fantastic experience in terms of seeing how technology cannot be just published or demoed, but can be deployed in real time. And also how amazing the administration and the local leaders are in absorbing new technologies and collaborating with us. So here's an example of if you want to look at crowds, which is a massive challenge, instead of using the traditional methods of barricades and counters, we actually use the cell phone tower data, the pings that even a feature phone makes with the towers. And in real time, we could map where the flows are. And the red spots is where the density is increasing. And so like near the train station, the outermost bus stands. But there's also some red hot areas on the bottom left you'll see that were created completely unintentionally because of not well thought out road barricades. In fact, I was stuck in that red region you see on the bottom left myself, and I was calling the city commissioner. And of course, we were providing this information in real time to the control room and also to the citizens. And we went beyond that and looked at how can we do maps or track epidemics over weeks, crowds, look at food logistics, and create very low-cost housing that's very robust, what that actually ended up using being the government offices over time. And probably for the first time, I'm very proud this community kind of really embraced the culture of innovation. So that's very exciting. And then we invited this amazing team, and this was the first Kumbh Mela that was incident-free. No children lost, no lives lost, and no epidemics. And this team is just mind-blowing. The government leaders, the business leaders, the education institutes, and many of them came to MIT 2 months later to really share with the campus about what are some insights. I mean, all the credit really goes to them for making it a great success. So this collaboration was very exciting, and through that, I got really inspired, and we said, you know what? We need to look at this in a new way. Now, Desh Deshpande, my mentor, and many of you know he was here last year, has a great book out, and you should all read it. And he says something very important. He says, in a society, there are people who just tolerate and get used to the misery. There are people who complain, and there are people who just solve. And strangely, you need actually all three kinds of people. If you have people complaining too much, that's not good. But if they don't complain enough, that's not great either. But then he goes on to say something even more important. He says that the progress of a society depends on the ratio of these three types of people. Okay? But then you can go one step beyond that. And if you read his book, he says some other things. I'm going to paraphrase that. If you are in Silicon Valley and you believe in innovation and solving the massive problems of the society, you have so many solvers. It's so talent-rich that you can let them work on whatever they want, and most of them will they'll have wrong teams, they'll have a wrong problem they're working on, they'll have a wrong solution. Most of them. But over time, they'll figure out what's the right problem, what's the right solution, and it'll be just the right team. And you can take that luxury because it's so talent-rich. Unfortunately, whether you're in Kumbh Mela or whether you're in Missouri Rolla, most of the world is talent poor. And we cannot imagine wasting all these resources on the few people, the few solvers, the few brave people who want to take on these challenges and come up with bold solutions. We simply cannot copy-paste the models that work in hubs like Silicon Valley or Bangalore or pick your favorite hub and apply it to the rest of the world and rest of this country. When it comes to venture, when it comes to innovation, when it comes to startups, when it comes to entrepreneurship, we have to completely decouple innovation and attacking society's problem from these concepts that we think are the right approach, or maybe only approach, to solve the world's problem. And then we have the other debate of, does the solution have to be disruptive, or can it be incremental? When you're in the rest of the world, it's fine to empower the plumbers, empower the taxi drivers, and come up with incremental solutions that will have phenomenal impact on the society. We don't have to be obsessed with technological solutions that are disruptive or business innovations that are disruptive either. Nevertheless, on the top right, we have leaps. And on the bottom left, we are crawling. So there has to be something in between. Now, you do have situations. Yesterday, we talked about how the Hotel Association is owned by 40% South Asians, and it's talent-rich, and it's incremental, but it's a great business. It's solving very important needs in the society. But I think in this room, we have the ability to solve the society's biggest problems, even when we are talent poor, but coming up with disruptions. But that's not going to happen by just using the philosophy of let the 1,000 flowers bloom and somebody will succeed, because there are not that many flowers to nurture. So that's our challenge. And for the rest of the country, as you travel around, you'll see empowering these solvers is very, very critical. So at MIT, after thinking about this, going through this Kumbh Mela spiritual innovation experience, I set up with my colleagues a new center, a multi-million-dollar center that thinks beyond big data, thinks beyond Internet of Things, beyond newly digital citizens, on how the interaction of emerging technologies and emerging communities can make an impact in the emerging worlds. And when we talk about solving grand challenges, let's not fool ourselves. Contests and prizes don't work because people who have nothing else to do are the ones who participate in those contests. It's not hackathon. It's not just building a community for a couple of days and see what they do. It cannot be a degree program because that's a very different incentive. People are more concerned about getting a degree and moving on. Most importantly, it cannot be an incubator or accelerator because they assume that the teams have already been formed. They already know what they want to work on. And this is a very wrong assumption because, as you know, many of us who are in the startup world, very quickly, a lot of the issues are more about who's become the CEO, who's become the CTO, what's the equity structure, how we're going to raise funds, and you spend most of your energy on those issues than actually solving the problem. And also, it cannot be just a corporate or a government innovation center because there is a likelihood that it'll be a walled garden, and it will not disseminate in the rest of the society. So what can we do? Right? The universities cannot do it, the government cannot do it, the startups cannot do it, and the corporates cannot do it on their own. So we need an integrated approach. And so we have launched a few centers, again, very well-funded, multi-million-dollar centers. The one I'll talk about is in Nashik, where Kumbh Mela took place. Just 2.5 hours of ride from Mumbai. And the idea there is we have a palette of grand challenges that we're publishing on our website, mitemergingworlds.com, one word. And the palette of problems are already out there. How do you solve blood supply chain? How do you monetize the garbage pipelines? How do you think about women's safety? How do you think about bike sharing as a digital problem? How do you exploit community radio for providing connectivity? And so on. And there are many more. And then we're also very fortunate to have really great founding partners, TCS Foundation and others. And I invite many of you to come work with us because we spend 2 days with many experts and stakeholders really brainstorming about what are the massive opportunities. And these are billion-dollar opportunities that can touch 1 billion lives. What are those opportunities? We're creating those palettes. We know even if you put them out there, nobody can solve them on their own. they have to work in this integrated ecosystem. So it's a really beautiful center. Kind of looks like MIT Media Lab, but it's in Nashik, so you're welcome to use that. But more than the space, it's about how it's set up. We are looking at how can we create digital solutions for the unorganized sector. There are a lot of unregulated hawkers and doctors and education institutes, but instead of eliminating them and regulating them, can they be part of a new fabric? Can we create a $1 wearable that leapfrogs PCs and mobile phones, but can target children, elderly, uneducated women, and a large part of the society so that they can still be part of a digital life? Because if I have $1 wearable, we can track education and attendance. We can track patients in hospitals. We can track travelers in travel ecosystems, and so on. How can we create smart objects that don't rely on top-down systems that are designed by creaky governments and unsophisticated officials? And how can smart objects actually take over? And how can we use machine learning and predictive health as a hammer for public health? Now, whether you're in Kumbh Mela or you're in Missouri Rolla, I think we have to get away from this notion that we are already in a talent-rich bubble and that we have to be obsessive about disruptive technology and disruptive solutions. And the only way, in fact, we're going to solve it for the rest of the world is not thinking linearly, not scaling what we already know, not by building a faster horse, but by building a car. Thank you.